Welcome to a deep dive,
Yeah.
into the character of a true icon, A.P.J. Abdul Kalam. We're going to be exploring excerpts from Sudhamurthy's book, and it's not just a collection of stories. It's almost like a master class in leadership and humility, all wrapped up in these kind of heartwarming anecdotes.
Absolutely. And what strikes me is how Murthy manages to capture not just his public persona, but those little revealing moments that show us the man behind the legend.
Right, like that story about Kalam calling her out of the blue.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was already the principal scientific secretary to the government, a big deal, and yet he personally calls her up after reading her column IT Divide in the week.
It's a detail that might seem small, but think about it. Someone in that position taking the time to connect with a writer, and not just to praise, but to mention laughing out loud, it speaks to his approachability and a genuine appreciation for connecting with people outside of his immediate circle.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Kalam's humility. Murthy talks about how, even as president, he preferred simple white and blue shirts and often wore slippers. You can almost picture it, can't you? Someone who could have surrounded himself with luxury, choosing the simplest attire.
It's almost like he's deliberately rejecting the trappings of power. Not for show, but because it genuinely didn't matter to him. It makes you wonder how that focus on substance over image might have influenced his leadership style and decisions.
It's a great point, and there's this other incident that really drives it home. A visitor gifts Kalam a shawl, gets the photo op, and then takes it right back.
Wow.
Most people would be at least a little flustered, right?
Yeah.
But Kalam, he just shrugs it off, even saying probably he needs it.
That's
It's
amazing.
incredible.
It's like he's saying that his value, his worth isn't tied to these outward symbols. It's a powerful message, especially in a world that often equates possessions with success.
It makes you think about how we can apply that to our own lives.
Yeah.
What would it look like to let go of that need for external validation and really focus on what truly matters?
Exactly. And it ties into Kalam's deep commitment to education, particularly for children. There's that story about Javed, the young crab seller, with this incredible motto, "It is better to be worn out than to be rested." Imagine that a kid in tough circumstances, but his outlook on life is about constant learning about growth.
And Kalam was so moved by it that he not only wrote it down, but adopted it as a personal principle. It speaks to his belief in lifelong learning, not just for academics, but for everyone. It's like he saw potential in everyone he met and was eager to learn from them.
Absolutely. And this wasn't just a charming quirk. This deep respect for knowledge and potential translates into concrete action. Murthy describes how Kalam went out of his way to connect with her own son, who was initially intimidated by the whole President of India thing.
He could have just given a polite handshake and moved on. But instead, he engages him in a conversation about technology, philosophy, and education. You could almost feel the impact of that, right? A young person having the president of India take a genuine interest in their thoughts and aspirations.
And what's beautiful is that he did this with so many people, especially youngsters. Murthy talks about how he seemed to have a special connection with children, a way of making them feel seen and heard. It wasn't just about imparting knowledge, but about empowering them, igniting their curiosity.
It's a quality that's so rare, especially in someone in a position of power. It makes you wonder, how can we foster that kind of connection, the genuine interest in others in our own lives? It's a challenge, but the impact it can have is immeasurable.
And it's fascinating how this theme of connection, reaching out and bridging divides runs through so much of what Kalam did.
It's like he understood that true leadership wasn't about staying isolated in a position of power, but about engaging with people, building relationships, and creating a sense of shared purpose.
And one of the most striking examples of this is his presidential inauguration. Instead of the usual pomp and ceremony, with a guest list full of VIPs, he chose to fill the hall with students, teachers, scientists, and ordinary people.
Such a powerful image, isn't it?
Yeah.
A president who chooses to share one of the most significant moments of his career, not with the elite, but with those who represent the heart of the nation.
Yeah, it reminds me of Nelson Mandela's inauguration, where he invited his former prison guards to sit in the front row. It's about recognizing that true progress, true unity, comes from acknowledging and embracing everyone, even those who were once on opposing sides.
It takes a remarkable level of humility and vision to do something like that, to see beyond the divisions and focus on the shared humanity that connects us all.
And this commitment to inclusivity wasn't just a one-time thing for Kalam. Think about his decision to invite his opponent's sister, Captain Laxmi, to his inauguration.
It's a gesture that goes beyond mere politeness. It's about showing that respect and understanding can exist even in the midst of political rivalry. It makes you wonder what kind of impact that kind of leadership could have on today's political climate.
Oh, it's huge. Imagine if our leaders, instead of demonizing their opponents, focused on finding common ground, on building bridges instead of walls. It's a powerful lesson that we can all learn from, whether we're talking about politics or our personal relationships.
It's about remembering that we're all in this together, and that true progress requires us to find ways to connect with each other, to listen with empathy, and to recognize the humanity in everyone.
And this brings us back to Kalam's remarkable ability to connect with people on a personal level, something that Murthy highlights time and again in her book. Remember that story about his train tour of
Oh,
Bihar?
absolutely. The man was 71 years old on a packed schedule,
Mm.
and yet he had more energy and enthusiasm than anyone else on that trip.
It wasn't just about going through the motions. He genuinely engaged with the students, answered their questions, and even had them repeat important lines, almost like he wanted to make sure the message sunk in.
It reminds me of those teachers we all had who weren't just there to deliver a lesson, but to ignite a spark of curiosity and passion in their students.
Exactly. And Kalam had that gift. It wasn't just about imparting knowledge, but about making a connection, about inspiring young minds to reach their full potential.
And this wasn't limited to formal settings. Remember how Murthy talks about him giving an impromptu internet class to 1,000 students at an IT event in Bangalore?
Mhm.
It's like he saw every opportunity as a chance to connect, to teach, to inspire.
It speaks to his belief in the power of lifelong learning, not just for himself, but for everyone. And it wasn't just about formal education, but about learning from each other, about being open to new ideas and perspectives.
It's a powerful message, especially in today's world where we're constantly bombarded with information. It's easy to get lost in the noise, but Kalam reminds us that true learning comes from engaging with each other, from being curious, and from being open to the wisdom that can be found in unexpected places.
Yeah.
As we've been talking about Kalam's impact on others, I keep thinking back to that story about his promise to sue the Murthy. It seems like such a small thing, but it really speaks volumes about his character.
Oh, you mean his commitment to visit Orissa if she ever invited him?
Exactly. He made that promise years before becoming president, back when he was a professor. You can imagine how easy it would have been to let that slide once he had the weight of the nation on his shoulders.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, to assume that such a casual promise wouldn't hold the same weight amidst the demands of the presidency.
But that's just it. Kalam wasn't the type to make empty promises. And when Murthy contacted him about inaugurating a children's hospital she was building in Bhubaneswar, he didn't hesitate.
It's almost like a test of character, isn't it? To see if those values of integrity and commitment hold strong, even when the stakes are higher, the schedule is packed, and the world is watching.
And he passed with flying colors. It would have been so easy to politely decline, citing his busy schedule. But that's not who Kalam was. He understood the importance of keeping his word, no matter how small the promise might seem.
It reminds me of that quote, integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Kalam lived that. He understood that true leadership isn't just about grand speeches and big decisions, but about the everyday choices we make, the commitments we keep, and the way we treat others.
It's almost poetic, isn't it? The fact that he inaugurated that hospital on the eve of Buddha Purnima, a day that celebrates compassion and service.
Yeah.
It's like everything aligned to highlight the core values that guided his life.
It's a beautiful reminder that even amidst the complexities of politics and leadership, there's always room for kindness, for empathy, and for a genuine desire to make a difference in the lives of others.
It's a powerful legacy, isn't it? And as we wrap up this deep dive, I can't help but wonder, what can we as individuals take away from Kalam's extraordinary life?
I think it's about recognizing that we all have the potential to make a positive impact. It doesn't have to be on a grand scale. It can be as simple as keeping a promise to a friend, taking the time to listen to someone who needs it, or pursuing a passion that ignites our soul.
It's about embracing that spirit of lifelong learning, of seeking knowledge, not just from books and experts, but from everyone around us. It's about looking beyond ourselves and finding ways to connect with others, to bridge divides, and to build a more compassionate and inclusive world.
It's about remembering that each of us, in our own way, can carry forward the torch that Kalam lit so brightly, a torch of knowledge integrity and a deep, unwavering belief in the potential of humanity.
So as we say goodbye to this deep dive, let's carry that torch with us. Let's be a little more humble, a little more curious, and a little more dedicated to making a difference, however small it may seem.
Because in the end, those small acts of kindness, those moments of connection, those sparks of inspiration, they all add up to something truly extraordinary. They create a ripple effect that can change the world, just like the ripples created by a stone dropped into a still pond.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the life and legacy of A.P.J. Abdul Kalam. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep making a difference.